order. This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T UVerse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and is webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv and will replay on Saturday, March 5th at 2 p.m. on Metro Cable 14. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker identification form located at the podium and hand it to the clerk. And with that, Karen, can you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Walter?
Here.
Carr?
Here.
Detrick?
Here.
Polo?
Here.
Gonzalez?
Here.
Hanson? Morin?
Here.
Natoli? Schmidt?
Here.
Nava?
Here.
And Turner.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Excellent. With that, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Nava, would you lead us?
Of course.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we do have a new member sitting with us. Sarah, is it Polo? Sitting as Commissioner Garrow's alternate. So welcome to the commission.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's fun. And with that, first item, please.
First item is conference with legal counsel on existing litigation.
Okay. And so with that, we will adjourn into closed session in the room back here. Reconvening out of closed session with no reportable action from the closed session. So, Karen, can you call the next item, please?
Item number 2 is an agreement for an analysis of franchise and peg fees paid by Comcast for calendar years 2013 and 14, as well as the resolution authorizing the issuance of a subpoena related to that analysis.
Good afternoon. Bob Davison, your Executive Director. As you know, the county has historically audited cable companies, and we've been doing that since I've been Executive Director. We usually do biannual audits, and for the past, well, actually, since we started doing the audits, we've used the county auditor. We actually appreciate the work that the county has done. Alan Montre has been great. He's been part of several successful audit findings that have led to revenue for the Cable Commission, and was actually the first auditor to audit AT&T's UVerse platform. However, we are recommending a change in direction, and we're recommending going with a consultant to provide auditing services. During the last audit that we did of AT&T, we used the county auditor, but we also brought in a consultant, Osbal and Skolko, and it was a great benefit. Actually, they had some findings based on some of the audits that they did with cable companies all around the country. And we feel hiring an experienced auditor, actually for a little bit less money, makes a lot of sense. So at this time, we're recommending that Osbal and Skolko be retained to perform the next Comcast audit. Also, we're recommending that your board authorize a subpoena, which is more often being required these days than has been in the past for conducting audits. I think we've come to your board after the fact because cable companies have been requiring subpoenas, and so we're trying to get that up front. And with that, I'm certainly here to answer any questions you might have.
I'll move the item.
Second. Right.
Sorry about that. Oh. Please vote. And the motion passes.
Great.
Thank you.
Please call the next item.
Item number 3 is resolution number 2016-001, adopting the County of Sacramento's 2016 holiday schedule as the Commission's schedule.
Thank you. In 1994, the Commission adopted the county's holiday schedule as its holiday schedule. Before, I believe the Housing Agency was the holiday schedule that the Commission adopted. At that time, there was a lot of issues where the Commission worked on a county holiday. Access to the buildings was a problem, as well as having the HVAC turned on and other things. So at that time, they brought to the Commission board a policy to basically align with the county and the county's holidays. However, anytime the county made a change to its holiday schedule, Cable Commission staff would come back to the board and ask the board to adopt those changes. As you may be aware, recently the County of Sacramento adopted Cesar Chavez Day as a holiday, and actually it's coming up here in March very soon. We are recommending that the Commission adopt the county's 2016 holiday schedule as the Commission's holiday schedule. And also just want to let you know this would increase the number of holidays from 12.5 a year to 13.5 holidays per year. And with that, I certainly can answer any questions you might have.
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Second.
Right. Please vote.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Next item.
Item number 4 is resolution number 2016-002, reclassifying our full-time PA3 position to a technical assistant position.
Thank you. Bob Davison again. Currently, we have a full-time production assistant 3 position that's vacant. Joe Condre most recently left the commission. Some of your board members may know Joe. He was involved in a lot of things, but one of the things that he was really good at was producing short videos and such. You know, and so a lot of you may have met him through that process. Joe left for greener pastures. We just actually talked with him the other day. He's got a great job with a very technical video company that puts signboards all over the world, in fact. So we're happy for Joe. This is actually something that we were discussing before Joe left, the need for a technical assistant position. So what we have our part-time production assistants. They film the meetings. They're very integral to our staff. And when Joe came on several years back, we created the full-time production assistant 3 position. The position has morphed over time, especially with Joe's experience doing much more technical work and really being a technical assistant to Bill Piper, our technical coordinator. So now that we're in the position of having to recruit to basically fill this vacant position, we think it makes sense right now to bring to your board to reclassify the full-time PA3 position as a technical assistant position. We're proposing a salary which is included in the staff report, and it's a 5-step salary that basically, and just conveniently, this wasn't manipulated, but it fits exactly almost between the top step of the production assistant 3 position and the bottom step of the technical coordinator position. So we feel this is very important with us going out and trying to recruit for what we think is a key position. We certainly recommend that your board approve today's resolution reclassifying the full-time production assistant 3 position to a technical assistant position, along with the associated salary schedule and the revised job description.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Please vote. And the motion passes. Thank you.
Next item, please.
It's all right. Like we should have delegated.
Everything
that
good?
to
That's good? Okay, sorry. Item number 5 is the audited financial statements for the Cable Commission for the fiscal years ended June 30th, 2012 and June 30th, 2013.
Thank you. So this is an audit, not a cable commission, not a cable company audit, but an actual audit of the Cable Commission itself. It's for a 2-year period from June of 2012 through June of I'm sorry. Karen, just a correction, is this for a 1-year period?
For 2-year period. Fiscal years ended
Okay.
12 and 13.
Okay, thank you. I just have an error in my notes, and I just want to make sure I was correct there. Anyway, an outside firm was hired to do this audit. The audit, there are several findings. I believe the findings are relatively minor. So I think things are going I think pretty well. Most of the findings had to do with inadequate separation of duties and situations where they thought that there should be more separation in regards to when claims are approved, when journal vouchers are approved. However, one of our problems is that we have a small staff. Karen Liu, she is in charge of all the administration. We have 2 part-time, well, actually, no. We have 2 positions. One's temporary, one's full-time. What's the position title?
It's challenging to keep those 2 positions filled.
No, what's the title of the positions?
Right.
The 2
Senior
positions.
office assistants?
Yes, office assistant positions. So we've had some issues there, but the audit did recommend some things, such as that basically we should have deposit permits and journal vouchers signed off by me every month, and so we're doing that. Payroll registers should be signed off from me on a monthly basis, and that we should have a formal review and sign off of the budget on a monthly basis. Karen and I actually talked budget all the time, but we never had a formal process where we looked at actuals versus budget, and then I signed it off every month, but we're implementing that now. There were a few other findings in regards to fixed asset listings. There's just a few items that were found to be on the surplus list, but not on the fixed asset list, so we took care of that. They recommend a fraud reporting policy, which we have as an agenda item later. on this agenda. They recommended a risk assessment process, which is something that we're still reviewing and will likely bring back to your board on a later date. They recommended more, better accounting procedures. We have accounting procedures. There are various memos and notes. Karen is going to be leading an effort to combine that all into a manual. And of course, we actually use the county's accounting system, so a lot of what we do accounting-wise, we have to follow what the county dictates there. So with that, we basically did not think that the findings were terribly significant, but I just did want to go over those findings. So it's recommended that you receive and file the audited financial statements for the Sacramento Cable Commission for the fiscal years ending 12 and 13. And with that, me or Karen can answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioner Carr.
Yes. How long have we been using this audit company?
This is the first audit that we've used them for. Prior to that, we used the County of Sacramento as the Commission's auditor. When this audit was beginning, we were informed by the county that due to certain requirements, certain conflicts, that the county could no longer be the Commission's auditor for audits of the Commission itself.
And who selected this auditor?
We went to an RFP process. We did a request for proposals, and they were selected.
And the staff selected the auditor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, so with that, the Commission will receive and file the report. Ms. Karen, if you can call the next item, please.
Item number 6 is the review of a procurement card usage by the Cable Commission for the period July 1st, 2013 to September 30th, 2015.
So if we haven't had enough fun with audits these days, I thought I would bring another one to your board. This is actually an audit of our procurement card, the Cable Commission credit card. And again, we use the County of Sacramento's procurement card, and we subscribe to their procurement card process. And involved in that is every so often, and actually we think yearly in the future from what we're hearing, they perform an audit of our usage. And again, I don't think there were any significant findings. Nobody was misusing cards, you know. Nobody paid for a trip to Hawaii on their credit card.
Or Disneyland.
That would have been a pretty big audit finding, I'm sure.
It would have been. There were a few findings on Amazon, and we actually found that you have to proactively erase your information, otherwise it stays stored, and that's against policy. So now we have practice in place that we're going to watch for that and make sure that the P card information doesn't stay on any internet site that we use. Our procedures actually included the card numbers and such, which I guess was an apparent thing we shouldn't have been doing, so we've redacted any P card information, you know, that in regard to the number or any information that somebody can use to actually use those cards. There were a few missing signatures, so we're going to do a better job of making sure that those documents get signed. I think that happened in a time when Karen actually had no staff working for her. Not to say that's excusable, but that's at least a reason. Sales tax calculations are actually very kind of confusing, because if we purchase items from another state where sales tax isn't paid, we still have to calculate the sales tax and pay it. We were doing that right. What we didn't realize was that when we buy software, that's not a tangible asset, that we did not have to pay sales tax on those transactions. So we were actually paying, on a few transactions, paying more sales tax than we should have been. So as we progress and learn these things, you know, we'll make sure our practices are in the future will account for those things. But other than that, those are the main findings. And with that, I recommend that you receive and file the P card audit.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you. In the city of Sacramento, I know a few years ago there was some issues with a lack of a credit card procedure on file, and in the absence of a procedure, there was some discrepancies on the accounting practices. Are you currently using a county procedure? Do you have people signing off on an annual basis, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we use county procedures. I'm actually the deputy auditor controller for the purposes of procurement cards. So I've been through that training. Karen Liu is our administrative officers for P cards. She's been through that training. There are many, many policies, and they require this training to occur at least every few years. I mean, I've gone to the training at least 3 times. And it's good training. You know, there's certain things they tell you to look out for, like they don't want you to split invoices. Buy something that's over the amount, but pay it forward on 2 different months, for example. So, but there are many policies and procedures. The signature is required. I know that for any P card transaction, I think I signed for it at least 3 times.
And is there a policy in place to not allow anyone to make personal purchases to be reimbursed later?
That is not allowed, no. And
That is not
there's
allowed.
only 2 cardholders in the Cable Commission, myself and our program director, Kristen. So I actually review her purchases, and then Bob review both the admins and hers as well. And signatures are required, like 5 or 6 on each document.
Right. And
It's quite a process, actually.
many years ago, it's not part of this audit, a Cable Commission employee mistakenly made a purchase on the P card. It was a mistake. It wasn't misuse, but we were told about it right away. We took care of it right away and made sure that that employee reimbursed for that. So,
Do you attempt to use like a purchasing order system before the credit card, or is the credit card a default system right now because of just the way electronic transactions are handled in our day and age?
So that's actually been an item of discussion recently. There are some administrative issues related to the use of the P card that has got us discussing whether it made sense to be using other forms of purchase rather than the P card. So the P card is not used for large significant items. I mean, if we're building a control room and a $500 item is needed and we have to react quickly, to get a build, I think we would use the P card in that instance. But for, like our PEG fee, the $2.3 million a year that gets allocated, that our Metro Cable often has significant PEG projects every year. Virtually most of those dollars spent are through purchase orders and not through P card.
Like for administration, we use it for the monthly SACB subscription. That would be just reoccurring monthly, month to month, $25. And then I know Kristen on occasion runs out and, buys something because her staff needs it right away to repair a piece of equipment or something. So generally, that's what it's used for.
Mm-hmm. Smaller purchases.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob, I assume the policy is written down somewhere. I was just wondering if it would be possible to get a copy of it just to read over.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. And with that, we will receive and file the procurement card usage report and call the next item, please.
Item number 7 is resolution number 2016-003, adopting a fraud prevention and whistleblower policy.
Okay, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, one of the issues from the audit was not having a fraud prevention policy. Certainly I'm against fraud, so I definitely feel that fraud prevention policies are good, but we certainly didn't have a formal one. So with the help of Harriet's firm, we developed a fraud prevention policy that basically defines prohibited activity and provides for a reporting procedure. The policy names me, the executive director, as the compliance officer and provides that I get support from legal counsel in regard to fraud situations that are brought to my attention. So with that, I recommend that you adopt the resolution adopting the fraud prevention policy.
So just to clarify, this was not a legal requirement to have this, but it's a recommendation from the auditor that we have one in place?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, great. So it's not a problem that we haven't had one, but it's going to be good for us going forward to have one
Exactly.
as a practice. Okay.
It's probably a best practices
Yeah.
issue.
Okay. Well, any other questions?
Move staff's recommendation. Second.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And Karen, if you could call the next item, please.
Item number 8 is resolution number 2016-004, adopting a general fund reserve policy for the commission.
Thank you. There was much discussion at the budget meeting this year and then also at the last commission meeting in regards to the annual, grants and funding that's provided to the channel licensees. The basic past practice, and that past practice goes back to about 2007, because before that I don't think there was any formal policy. But of course I've only been in the commission since about then, so it's hard for me to go back before that. Anyway, so since 2007 we've been recommending a cost of living adjustment for the base grants that go to the channel licensees that run the PEG channels other than Metro Cable. Am I on the wrong item?
Karen, are we on item 8 or item 9?
I apologize. Okay.
Sorry.
I apologize for that. I just glossed over item number 8. So I'll change gears here. So item number 8 is a general fund reserve policy. You know, the commission used to not carry any reserves other than a small amount, about $150,000 for possible equipment failures and such. And now with the PEG fee, that's even less of an issue. I know board members have brought up questions about reserve policies over the past several years. With the budget meetings the last several years, staff has been recommending mild increases to those reserves, to the point where the reserve now sits to be about $679,000. At the last meeting also, we were asked to go back and bring back a reserve policy, if you will. Staff researched other member agencies, some JPAs, didn't find any real consistent approach that we come back and just say, well, this is the best practice, let's use this policy. And of course, every agency is different. Larger member agencies tend to use between 10 and 20% of their total budget, I think. Some JPAs have little or no reserves that I talked to. We saw some research that talked about a common reserve for operations was 3 to 6 months of expenses, but there was not any one clear policy. I think with the Cable Commission, we do have a lot of revenue that comes in and then a lot of revenue that goes out. So from that standpoint, we're well funded. Of course, there could be emergencies that come up, as well as fluctuations in revenues, changes in the laws that could somehow limit our revenues. So, you know, with that, we think that it makes sense to have monies on hand to possibly run the commission for several months if there was a reduction or stoppage of revenues. Also to provide for emergencies and for other unforeseen issues that may come up. With that, like we're sitting at $679,000 right now. If we looked at our just the budget for our operations, not counting the revenue distributions and such, which would be the whole $12.5 million budget, or whatever that exact amount is, we're recommending that a reserve target be approved that's about 50% of operations. Mm-hmm. So 6 months of operations would be about $1.5 million. So we're asking your board to adopt a reserve policy that targets $1.5 million and also cites 50% of operations, so that actually in the future we would bring back reserves that would be a little bit higher if, you know, obviously as budgets grow over time. So with that, I'm recommending that your board adopt the resolution adopting this general fund reserve policy.
Any questions from any commissioners? Commissioner Natoli.
Yeah, Bob, so looking at the history here, recognizing that in any given year there's the tugs and pulls that go on with budgeting and, you know, revenues, and I think certainly having a reserve to bolster what might be the unexpected. That's wise, and I know that some do better at that than others. But my question is, so you say over a period of time. So what would you contemplate? Again, you look at the length of time it's taken to get to here, although it's been pretty quick, relatively speaking. Are you anticipating that you would basically more than double this in a similar amount of time over a 5-year period? Is that what you're looking at, or?
Yeah, I was thinking a 3 to 5 year period, and maybe depending upon nuances in any year's budget. But I wasn't going to come in with a increase to $1.5 million at the June budget meeting. I would think a 3 to 5 year.
That's pretty wise on your part, but you can do anything you want to do to bring a recommendation, but a different discussion.
Glad to see something I'm doing is wise.
Okay, all right. So you'd be looking at you said it here, but I just want to get the time frame. So 3 to 5 years you'd be looking
yes.
at. Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Moran.
Yeah, and just a comment to follow up on that. I suppose a request I would have is that anytime we get some one-time extraordinary revenue, is to bring that back to the board for consideration of just adding that in to the surplus there, and it might be a less painful ways from a budgetary process. Something that wasn't contemplated. Something like that. So.
Sure, that makes sense, and I think we saw something similar to that with the security deposit that recently came back. I think that did some of that did end up going to reserve. So I appreciate that comment.
Bob, I just want to add in. I think this is a prudent move on our part. I know you're going to be bringing up something in your director's report that I think there are potentially some challenges to our revenue growth. And the model that we have for obtaining revenue through franchise fees that we'll talk about in the director's report. And I think it's good to plan for the possible need to smooth out reductions in revenue in the future. Maybe not the immediate future, but in the foreseeable future. So thank you for putting this together and bringing it to the board. Commissioner Detrick.
Yeah, I agree with all the comments that have been made. It's very prudent. If there's no other discussion, I move staff's recommendation.
I would like to compliment Karen Liu for getting a real good education in reserves. It's just in an area that we had to do a lot of research on, and the research was led by Karen, and she did a really good job of reaching out to other entities, finding policies for other entities, talking to other special district general managers about their reserve policies and such. So I just want to compliment Karen on that.
Thank you. So save for a rainy day, guys.
You don't tie your procurement card to the reserves, though, right?
I believe that would be a finding.
Yeah, I think you would.
Motion passes.
All right.
Thank you.
Please call the next item.
Item number 9 is the cost of living adjustments for our channel licensees and their basis.
And again, I apologize. I think I gave you half the staff report already when I skipped the item, so I'll not go over all that again. But basically, we come back every year with a budget. There is significant grant money, both in base and in other amounts that goes to our important channel licensee partners. And the budget's always interesting every year. There's always a lot of nuances. But we've had this policy of recommending a growth based upon the CPI, but really tied to the county COLA, which actually provides a minimum. So if the CPI is almost nothing, it's still 2%. It also provides a maximum, which is often 5%. So if the CPI goes nuts and it's 20%, we're not necessarily bringing back 20%, but we found that to work. And then during the downturn, certainly there were no COLAs for anybody's staffs, and there weren't increases for the channel licensees as well. We think strongly that this policy still makes sense. And it's not a limitation on revenues at all. All it's saying is that when we build the budgets and we make a an annual adjustment to these base amounts, that's what we bring in, and that keeps staff from guessing, how we should build it, how we should bring it in. The channel licensees, they obviously have other needs, and it's hard to find a one-size-fits-all for anybody. So as we saw at the last budget meeting, Access Sacramento made a real good case for certain issues that they were contending with, and they asked for something different, which I believe the board approved. But I think that's a prudent way to go forward in the future. I find it difficult to find any other index out there that would somehow put the recommendation for the annual grants to the channel license be on autopilot, other than tied to something like the CPI. So I recommend that we stick with our standard practice. We tie it to the county COLA. If people don't like to tie it to the county COLA, we can tie it to the CPI with an upper limitation, and I'm okay with that approach too. But I can't suggest any other approach that makes more sense than what we're doing now. So I recommend that you direct us to come back with a policy at the June budget meeting, but that policy be based upon past practice.
No request to speak. Well, I have no problem with continuing with our current policy, and I believe that's the recommendation. So I would move the staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay.
Oh, wait, excuse me, wait. I forgot we have a speaker. I forgot we have a speaker on this item, Gary Martin. I apologize, Gary. I put it to the side.
That's all right. Just a quick comment, and certainly in thanks to the Commission in the last year in making the adjustment that we asked for at that time. And so that's only my only comment here. I don't know how the county comes up with its number on the COLA that's going to go toward staff. But I would figure that when that number is computed, that they're looking at the biggest bucket, and they're going to, in their budget and finance area, take a look at the money that's going to go to the employee, let's say 2%. But then on the back side, there's coverage for medical expenses, taxes, and insurance and fees that are associated with the backside of covering the 2% that the employee actually sees. So I would only hope in the discussion, and since this isn't policy yet, but is a direction to create policy, that there would be at least some awareness in the policy discussion that if 2% is going to go into the employee's paycheck, that there would also be coverage on the administrative side to cover taxes, fees, insurance, and other backside costs of boosting the employee's pocket money. So that would be my only request as part of the policy adjustment.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Karen, can we reset the vote? I called that too early. Thank you.
Yeah, how do we clear that? We didn't want to clear on our own screen. I was just
Karen just did it.
So once we cast it, we're locked in. We can't move.
No. She reset. Karen's reset the vote.
I'm going to reset it one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because none of us hit that one.
Okay, it's ready now?
Do we need to make the motion again, Harriet, or is the motion still on the floor?
The motion's still on the floor, as far as I know.
Okay.
So I don't have a.
Did you want to modify your motion?
I'd like to stick with the staff recommendation.
I'll second that again.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and vote, please. Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Please call the next item.
Item number 10 is a report on social media presence of our PEG channels.
Thank you. If you recall, some questions came up at the last meeting about social media and the PEG channels, and so we brought this report back to you that basically summarizes social media with the PEG channels. First, a couple of things. Actually, one thing I'm very excited about, and I know that this board has brought up several times, is when am I going to be able to watch a cable commission or board meeting on my iPhone? Given past decisions your board has made providing funding, we think we're close to that time. Our Metro Cable staff has been working with the County of Sacramento staff on live streaming that would be viewed on all devices. And as you know, I think currently streams are only viewable on PCs that have Internet Explorer. So I have actually viewed a Board of Supervisors meeting on someone's iPhone. So I think they're getting close to where this will be a workable situation. So I just wanted to report that to you.
Take us with you wherever you go. Isn't that just wonderful?
Local government geeks can now be everywhere. People like me.
On your watch, on your
But
screen,
don't
on
watch.
your TV.
I serve on the California Highway Patrol Citizens Advisory Board. Do not watch Board of Supervisors session while you're driving, please.
Yes. So also, Metro Cable staff just launched a Facebook page. I don't have a display for you today, but I do want to introduce Tyler Kinney, who's on our Metro Cable staff. Actually, Tyler, can you come up for a second? I just want Tyler to tell you how you can find this. I'll actually send an email after the meeting, but I believe it's pretty easy to find this Facebook page.
Yeah, just you can Google it. It's facebook.com/MetroCable14 is the URL, and we're just starting to get some content up there, and we invite you all to like it.
Right.
Right, I've already liked it.
I'll do that right now.
Yeah. So anyway, it should be easy to find, but it's going to be a good tool for us. We'll be able to announce pertinent meetings coming up and such. We also use YouTube mainly to archive meetings and such. YouTube has been a source for us. We'll be able to link that to our Facebook page.
Sure.
And some content will be accessible that way as well.
Currently, we have every Cable Commission meeting that we have is on YouTube now for archival purposes. So.
Right. And so thank you, Tyler. Tyler's been a big part of, probably because he's a lot younger than me, he's been a big part of helping us expand our social media presence. So I appreciate his help. Also, today's report includes what the other channel licensees are doing. I'm not going to go through them item by item, but basically most of them are making use of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Cable Commission's moving in that direction as well. A few others, I think KVIE sites having media blasts and such, so there are other tools out there as well. But today's report, we did ask all the channel licensees to let us know what they're doing on social media, and that's in your report today. And I believe this is a receive and file, and we can certainly answer any questions, or channel licensees in attendance, if you have questions about their social media, can answer questions as well.
Okay. All right, well, as of now, Cable 14 has 91 people liking it on Facebook. Commissioner Gonzalez had a question or comment?
Thank you. So this is the self-reporting explanation of all the licenses' current social media presence, but I do imagine that a top-down look at these presence by a qualified expert in social media actually could be more helpful than a self-reporting model that we have right now. Only in that is I provide consulting services in social media for many different clients and organizations, and I can tell you that it's constantly evolving. There's constantly new algorithms and factors to take into account. So just the sheer number of likes and posts in itself doesn't really qualify whether or not something is relevant. And I also want to emphasize that sponsor ads on Facebook now are so laser targeted focused when you get into some demographics, and spending just a little bit of money can really boost exposure for our affiliate organizations and our franchisees. I would like you all to consider not only just what you've committed to already, but really bringing in some people who are professionals in this field, who bring a background, who work on this every single day. They can really illuminate for you what you may not be doing already, how you can be doing it better, and how you can be engaging with people. As our chair was discussing the future and revenues and dwindling, these are some of the avenues that we are up against. These are some of the avenues that are taking eyeballs away from us and moving it into different platforms. It's incumbent upon us to go to these other avenues and get these eyeballs and hopefully direct them back to us so that maybe in the future our revenues don't go down as quickly as we might already project them to. It's a shame that Board Member Hansen isn't here. I know that he was very interested in talking about this, but hopefully he's watching or liking us at home, and he'll catch us on YouTube later. Thank you.
All right. And I would just add that I think Commissioner Natoli hopes that someday he'll be able to watch board session on his flip phone.
Get the cat picture right now. I just saw Ted's got 2 likes. I know that. So.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear the 1,000% increase in our likes, because I think when I saw it, there was 7, so we're
getting there.
We're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. All right, well, with that, we'll receive and file this report and move on to the next item, please, Karen.
Item number 11 is the county's calendar year investment policy for the pool investment fund.
So this is a receive and file, and because we invest our monies with the county asks us to bring this to your board and have it adopted every year. And therefore, I recommend that you adopt the county's pooled investment fund policy.
Move the item.
This is just a receive and file, so we don't need to take action.
I retract my move.
So unless there are questions, which I see none, no request to speak, we will receive and file this report. Karen, please call the next item.
Item number 12 is receive and file the project update report on BESTNet Phase 3.
Okay. As your commission is well aware, and I know we have some new members, but the BESTNet partnership between Comcast, the commission, the Education Cable Consortium, and Sacramento Schools has been very successful and has provided an educational high-capacity iNet for Sacramento Schools that has been very beneficial and is a great resource for our students. And to just give a little bit of history of this partnership, there was a Phase 2 agreement that was approved many years ago that provided $3.9 million in commission funding and matching funding from schools, as well as commitments from Comcast in providing dark fiber. And that hooked up most of the district offices in Sacramento County. Community colleges, Cal State University of Sacramento, high schools and middle schools. And so that was the Phase 2 project. What we call the Phase 3 project is the elementary phase project, and that's the phase that we're in right now. And actually, the board will, I'm sure, notice that for the past 5 years, that we've had a budget amount that went towards this Phase 3. And basically, Phase 3 is hooking up all the elementary schools in Sacramento County. And that was a $3 million funding commitment by the commission over 5 years, with a like funding commitment from SECC and Sacramento Schools. And just to give you perspective, over the first 4 years of this Phase 3, 169 elementary schools have been connected to BESTNet. In its final year, SECC wanted to proceed forward with 63 more sites. One thing to point out, though, is that 24 sites could be accommodated with the $6 million that had been budgeted by the commission and by the schools at that time. The agreement actually allowed for more schools to be hooked up, but the funding that was provided in that 5-year commitment basically couldn't add another 24 sites to the 169 sites. SECC wanted to move forward with purchase orders for those 24 sites plus an additional 39 sites, which the cost estimate for those sites was $1.9 million. And like I want to point out, though, that $1.9 million, this commission hasn't committed any funds for at this time. But SECC has been communicating with Comcast since last April on this, and at this point, Comcast has not really given any response in regards to finishing these schools. So recently, SECC has moved forward with purchase orders for the 24 sites that basically are within the $6 million that was budgeted by schools and the commission, and also wants to move forward with the other 39 additional sites, but at this time is waiting for responses from Comcast. And I know that Liz Rhodes has talked to Phil Arndt with Comcast. I've talked to Phil myself. I don't know, it's Phil, okay, Phil's in the audience. I didn't see him earlier, so he may want to give us an update on that. But I just wanted to bring this, it's a receive and file report. This could lead to a funding request at the next June budget meeting, so wanted you to be aware about that and also be aware of this situation. With that, Harriet, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. Okay. With that, I can certainly. Liz Rhodes is not here today because she's, I believe, out of the country. But there is Mr. Bradley is here, as well as another gentleman whose name I apologize I've forgotten, but he will introduce himself very shortly, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, I have no questions at the moment from any commissioners, so I have a request to speak from Terry Kritsepis. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Good, then we're done. Great.
Apologize for...
No, not at all. Good afternoon, board members and Chairperson Walter. Thank you for letting me address the board. I'm coming to you, I'm Terry Kritsepis. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for the Folsom Cordova Unified School District. I also represent the Sacramento Education Cable Consortium as the chairperson, and also representing Liz Rhodes, who's out of town right now. So I just wanted to say, first and foremost, on behalf of the board, again, thank you for letting me speak to you today. Also, thank you to Comcast. We've had a very collaborative, great working relationship over all these years to connect Sacramento County schools to the dark fiber and to the County Office of Education, and be able to give internet access to all of our county kids. So in this agreement, that has been passed a long time ago, we're not asking for anything more than what we've originally asked for to connect to the dark fiber, and going forward, SECC and the Sacramento County Schools have been paying 100% of any additional increases to cost. So we're almost there. Phase 3, we have 39 more school sites, elementary school sites to complete. They are mainly out of Natomas Unified as well as Twin Rivers. All other other districts have completed those phases or are just about to hook up. Again, it's been wonderful collaborating with Comcast and the Commission. We've had a great relationship. This has been an amazing thing for, speaking on behalf of the district, the local districts, an amazing opportunity for us to be able to give high-speed bandwidth to our elementary, our middle, and our high schools, especially as we've been moving forward with online assessments, Common Core, building 21st century classrooms, integrating technology into the curriculum and not as a side piece. So let's see here. And again, we have just 39 more sites. These are all rooted in underserved communities in Twin Rivers and Natomas, and we're really looking forward to getting this completed and done and moving forward. So there you go. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? No? Well, with that, we will receive and file the BESTNet Phase 3 update and move to the next item.
Item number 13 is to receive a verbal report from staff regarding administration matters.
Okay, thank you. And I have at least 5 items that I would like to discuss. The first one is I titled AT&T UVerse Phase Out, and this is an item that has me concerned a little bit. This started out as rumors on the internet, and maybe many of you might have heard of AT&T's acquisition of DirecTV. It's an acquisition that took place relatively recently. But what has been circulating on the internet are reports that AT&T is going to abandon UVerse and is going to basically, go with the DirecTV format. And of concern, obviously, to this commission is DirecTV satellite, no franchise fees, UVerse. the AT&T has actually built up UVerse to be the #2 provider in the Sacramento area. So, you know, potentially there could be significant repercussions. I'm not one to bring rumor and innuendo to your commission, so this is something, if it developed earlier, may have been a staff report. But I did reach out to AT&T, and I did reach out to Tim Ray, who many of you know, and Tim is often the AT&T representative that comes to this meeting. He actually cannot come today. He said he would come, but he has a medical issue in his family that he's attending to, and I wish him the best in regards to that. But I'll just read to you what Tim's response was to me on this issue. He said, to realize the many benefits of our DirecTV acquisition, we are leading with the DirecTV satellite-based solution to most single-family home customers. This allows us to maximize the UVerse internet throughout and to integrate our mobile, social, and entertainment capability into the user interface. We're bringing together DirecTV and UVerse to deliver a premium, effortless entertainment experience to your residents and properties, regardless of whether it is delivered over a wired, satellite, or a wireless network. There is no need for anyone who is currently receiving UVerse video over IP to rewire their property. We remain committed to the delivery of video over IP for MDU and SFU applications, which I don't know those acronyms, by the way. A new client upgrade is scheduled for UVerse later this year as we continue to maintain the platform. Our objective of delivering a premium entertainment experience across our IP, satellite, and mobile networks remains clear, and we will continue to evolve content and drive feature set innovation. So that's the extent of my report. That's as much as I know about the situation, but I thought it was relevant. I did reach out to AT&T because, you know, discussion of rumors is not the best thing for the public forum, but I did want to bring you something concrete from AT&T related to this. So that's the end of my report on that, and I don't know if there's any questions.
Well, I'll just comment that I think we've had this discussion going on for a while about over-the-top internet-based TV delivery, and I think it's probably the future of the industry. And I don't think what AT&T is doing is, if that's the direction they're moving, I think it's probably a smart business move for them. But we have to look at it as a commission as, what does that mean for us in the future? If the TV delivery model is going to change from set-top boxes with a direct feed of channels to a subscription service with an over-the-top. And there's an editorial in Fox Business today actually about exactly this issue, that between UVerse combining with DirecTV, DirecTV now has an app on, I think, the Apple TV. You can get it on your iPhone, your Google phone, and be able to just stream whatever shows you have. And that on top of it, AT&T is looking at possibly bringing to market a subscription base for purely internet DirecTV service without even having to have the satellite dish. And so it's a creative product, and I think it's going to be something a lot of people are going to like. And I have copies of the article if anyone's interested. So Harriet, I assume I would need to enter that into the record for this item. But I think we need realistically to think about long-term, if people are going to migrate away from franchise-based TV services, what that's going to mean for our revenues as a commission, and what that's going to mean for the member agencies going forward. Because it's not an insignificant source of revenue for the member agencies, certainly, especially in times of continued stretched budgets. So, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you. I just want to echo the comments of the chair, and just this has been on the top of my mind for the last several weeks, as well as I considered this meeting and talking to my neighbors and my friends, even social networks, actually, in the last few days, asking them basically this: how do you feel about television right now? And I would imagine anecdotally that people younger than myself are really migrating away from a subscription model that costs upwards of $160 to $200 a month. I think it's incumbent upon us to find ways to encourage these companies to do something in the future that at least mirrors what the consumers want, so that we may thrive and continue. But there's a delicate balance here, because I also want to consider the values that our franchisees bring to the community and make sure that they continue to be funded. But it's nice to hear that there's a few people who are considering the future and the ramifications of these ever-evolving changes of technology, and hopefully we can find something to make sure that we are sustainable.
Commissioner Detrick.
Yeah, I think the points you bring, I really appreciate. And those of you like Philip that are sitting in the audience and any of the other cable providers, so the opportunities, competition, hopefully it'll drive everybody's price down for the consumer.
My concern is, local governments in general in the state of California are so dependent on historically reliable sources of revenue. And if our revenue sources don't keep up with technological and social change, what is that going to mean for basic governmental services for the county, for the cities in this region, certainly, if we can't figure out ways to have our revenue streams somehow keep up with changing technology. And our revenue model is based on DIVCA and our franchise model, and that's the law. That is what it is. So I'm not going to sit here and complain that the technology is changing, but I think we've got to look forward 10 years from now. Where are we going to be, and how are we going to be funding basic mental health, law enforcement, homeless services in this region if some of our more reliable sources of revenue are going to start to decline and perhaps kind of go the way of the dodo as we have new models and new technology bringing us our TV service. So with that, this is, I guess we have your next item, Bob, on your list.
Yes, I was going to ask Harriet Steiner if she can cover the item on the FCC notice of inquiry for comments from local agencies regarding high definition, which is an issue that came up at the last meeting as well. Is there something legislatively that can happen that could make, allow basically for the PEG channels to be on HD TV as well?
So good afternoon. Just coincidentally, I think, last Friday or the Friday before, the FCC issued a notice of inquiry where they're seeking opinions regarding the availability of access for independent video programmers. And as part of that notice of inquiry, they asked about the ability of PEG channels to provide access and whether the PEG channels themselves were getting adequate access on the cable television systems. And so some of the issues that are raised in this notice of inquiry are similar issues to the ones that the Commission saw several years ago when we were looking at the AT&T Channel 99 application. And others deal exactly with things like high definition, so that if the PEG channel is not broadcast or cablecast in the same manner that the other basic tier type channels are, that the PEG channels will become isolated and will no longer provide the appropriate forum for independent local programmers. And so, so this seems to be something that would provide access to the FCC in Washington to look at the issue of high definition on the PEG channels, which many PEG providers and franchisors like the Commission have been looking at nationwide. And so, so the comments on the notice of inquiry will likely be due in about 6 to 7 weeks. We're just waiting for them to be published in the Federal Register, and then we'll have an exact due date. And so we believe that this is consistent with this commenting would be consistent with existing Cable Commission policy, and it would be our recommendation to file comments on the high definition issue in particular in this notice of inquiry proceeding. And with that, it's also possible and would be our recommendation that there are several different national organizations that are aligned with government and PEG providers that will likely be filing comments on the same topic. And so it's possible that the Commission could participate as a group with both organizations like NATOA and the Alliance for Community Media and those types of organizations. So we think with with the Commission's acquiescence and with Bob's authority, we would anticipate filing comments which would include the high definition issue that was brought to the Commission, that the Commission brought up at its last meeting. So with that, I'd answer any questions.
Just to clarify, we have high definition equipment in the chambers already. So we are capable of putting a high def stream out at this point.
Yes, but we cannot put it out because the PEG channels themselves are not in high def.
Right. But like right here on our TVs here, I get a high def signal for what we have inside the chambers on that system, but we just can't put that signal out for the providers.
That's correct.
That's correct.
All right. Any other questions? Next.
Okay. Speaking of comments, I think the next item is something that the Commission's already been noticed about, but I'll just go over really quickly. But basically, we provided comments to the California Attorney General quite a while ago, I think a couple years ago, regarding the PEG fees and whether they could be considered taxes under Proposition 96. I believe our PEG fee was implemented before Proposition 96. 26?
26.
Oh, why did I think it was 96? Okay, excuse me. Proposition 26. Anyways, taxes. So we provided comments at several junctures with Harriet and her firm, and I think that the Attorney General came up with an opinion that we wanted to see that the PEG fees were not a tax under Proposition 26. So that's all I have to offer. We provided information on this to you as well. And Harriet, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Right. I think the board members got a copy of the AG opinion when it came out about a month ago. This was a very favorable decision from the California Attorney General. Because the PEG fees, as you know, are a significant source of revenue to the Commission and to the member agencies and our channel licensees. And this opinion doesn't stop a cable provider from challenging the legality of the PEG fees, but it is a giant step up towards having those fees upheld if such a challenge were to be filed.
I have no questions or requests to speak, so Bob, next up.
Okay. The next is a status of some of the PEG projects that were funded in this year's budget. I'll probably not go over the minor items. I already discussed the Sacramento County. DTEC is currently testing new video streaming equipment, so soon hopefully the feeds will be viewable on all devices. Folsom has begun the bidding for lighting chambers and control room improvements, and so that would be nice to lighten up the chambers in Folsom. GALT control room equipment is ready to be installed. GALT is selecting a vendor for cameras and an audio that will have cameras installed and the audio system improved. Let's see. So the City of Sacramento is contemplating rather significant upgrades to its chambers. A vendor has been chosen by the city to do chamber and control room upgrades. The upgrade and the meeting and relocation to the historic hearing room, they've been delayed until the spring or summer of 2016, but some control equipment will be installed soon. And for Metro Cable, half of the PEG projects that were in the budget this year have been completed, and right now we're waiting on equipment that was ordered for the control room back there and the van. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on member agency PEG projects. Some of the channel licensees may update you on their PEG projects in their reports. And with that, I just want to remind everybody that March is the time that we solicit PEG fee fund requests for the next budget year. As you know, we get about $2.3 million in PEG revenue from the PEG fees that come from the cable and video providers. We send out letters to all the channel licensees and all the member agencies, and we have good contacts, good communication, certainly with most of the channel licensees and the member agencies. We send out an annual request letter telling people if they want to submit PEG requests, what the requirements are. We require that those submittals to come in by the end of April. Is that right, Karen?
By mid-April.
Yeah. So with that, we just want to let you know that will be happening very soon. And as usual, in June, you will see many requests for the PEG funds that come in every year.
Okay.
That's
Great.
it.
And I have no request to speak, so I guess with that, we can move on to the next item.
Next item is to receive reports from channel licensees.
Okay. And I have a request on this item from Gary Martin to speak.
Good afternoon again, Gary Martin from Access Sacramento. We did have a quick update we wanted to give you on our large purchase that you approved as a one-time only this last time, and I do have some pictures that I'd like to show from a PowerPoint presentation, if the technician could bring that up. Access Sacramento is purchasing a new high-definition truck in support of the high-definition channel that will sometime show up in the future. But it is a 28-foot Isuzu cab-over pickup with a 21-foot box on the back there, and that has entry from the far side. The back door is an entry to a audio space, and the forward door on that left-hand side goes to the video space. There's also storage in the back. You can see belly bays underneath, which would allow people to store equipment that goes with this. You can see that it's going to have some stairs that'll lead into that capacity. Right now, it's not marked and wrapped at all, but by the time it shows up, hopefully at the NAB show in Las Vegas in mid-April, it will have the Access Sacramento logo all over it. It's a pretty well done device designed to last a long time. Aluminum construction for those desk frames that hold the equipment, the switcher, the audio gear, that type of thing. Inside here you can see what is the primary video wall that would be above and to the left of that counter. This is the audio space. You can see they have a board there that's just a temporary placement. That's actually a lighting board. That is approximate size for what would be the audio service in this back kind of space. This is the other side of the video wall where the engineers would sit. There's a rack space to the left that would allow us to control the cameras and the technical exposure associated with that. This is our existing RV, a 2001 Flare that's been used for quite a while. The truck itself has the control surfaces inside all in standard definition. This is the type of setup we use when we do Game of the Week, Hometown TV, and other types of events like that. The audio board is the small board to the left, our graphics is to the right, and is in essentially the second row behind that first space that you just saw. This is perhaps the direction that we will go. These students from Pleasant Grove High School recently used our truck to broadcast a Pleasant Grove High School basketball game. They actually took our equipment to Franklin High School, where Pleasant Grove then did their own play-by-play with these announcers. You can see some camera operators in the back there. They were all delighted to, of course, create a program for cable television that'll air on our channel. One other update I'll just give you, because it was a project from the year before. Our over-the-air station, KUBU, continues to broadcast this meeting, as well as Board of Supervisors and Sacramento City Council meetings. I will, based on a request from our Board of Directors, I will be contacting Bob about the possibility of adding a line to the announcement of the meetings that are read at all of those meetings, including the one that Ted read at the beginning of this meeting that announces that it's on Metro 14. Those meetings that are on KUBU are, of course, free to the public. Don't have to be a cable subscriber. They're available to anybody who has a radio or an internet service, a cell phone, can listen to these meetings by listening to KUBU. So I'll direct a question to Bob about whether a line could be added to those clerk-read statements at the beginning of those meetings. But KUBU continues to operate. We're excited about the music and programming that we do that. And if you don't have any questions, I would conclude with a 2-minute video of the programs that Hometown TV and Game of the Week have done in the last 6 months, just as a sample, unless you have any questions for me first.
I do have a request to speak from Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thanks for the slideshow. In the new truck, will there be no pizza allowed? I noticed in the audio board there was a pizza on top of the board, and the news truck is pretty expensive and nice. So maybe no food in the new truck.
I think you would find that there will be severe restrictions, even threats of bodily harm associated with people who would damage the truck with crumbs.
I would imagine so.
I think we will protect it.
I went through quite a few keyboards in college spilling sodas on them. So
no food in
the fact that it was more than one tells you how much I really was paying attention to what I was doing.
Terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
And with that, I'll just invite the technician to go ahead and roll a 2-minute video for you.
I would argue for their own character development, but there's what comes along with that child, their extended family that learns about their great experience.
This is America. You see the faces, you see the smile, you look at the way you look it up. This is the day that you said, I'm American.
Protection this time, crossing pattern wide open again. Here's a broken tackle, touchdown North.
Repeat after me. I have the hand of greatness. Success is always within my reach.
Young fires from deep range. Down!
The bill really set the marker that California should fund preschool for all low-income kids in our state.
Together, the city has irrefutably gone in the right direction, and it would be a mistake to go backwards.
And the experiences that I have had and what I have done for my city makes this the job that I want.
I want to thank our viewers once again.
We thank you for tuning in.
Public access television is your voice in the community. It is the community's voice. And the programs that we show gavel to gavel would not otherwise be seen on television. Those diverse programs that look at communities that are underserved are shown at length in their entirety. Opportunities that the local television news, for example, would never be able to provide. It's a service that you pay for, that we are grateful supports the free speech and democracy issues in our community, and we are grateful for the support that you give to us in providing this service to the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I guess with that, I have no one else from the licensees requesting to speak. So, Karen, can you call the next item?
Item 15 is to receive verbal reports from state franchisees.
And I have no requests to speak from the state franchisees. So we can go to the next item of public comments. I don't have any requests for public comment either. So with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
And I have my gavel.